Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We just had 3 unsuccessful countdowns when we're going live, but I think we caught it. I'm here with Péter. It's great to have you here. You're a truly Ethereum veteran, and you also had a really cool presentation yesterday. And I'll maybe start with the presentation, just so you can lure the people into watching it. What was it about? What was the gist of it?
Ooh, presentation, should I call it?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, awesome. So presentation was about, we get a lot of slack on Twitter that Ethereum does not scale. And then the presentation was about trying to kind of explore that how much of that is true and how much of that is false. Because the truth is always in between, and you can't just unilaterally say to critics that you're wrong. But that doesn't mean that they aren't partially right. So the presentation was just trying to see, okay, how right are they or how wrong are they? And it's always in the middle.
Yeah, nice. Like with everything. So you've been in Ethereum for 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. And it's your first job after university as well, which is very cool. How have you found it develop? Because it was like obviously like a group of massive enthusiasts. It was quite a niche community. And now, especially after the crypto went down so much, people have all kind of various preconceptions about it. So how have you seen it evolve? Like what was your story during the time?
Wow, so Ethereum was probably the messiest code base I've ever saw. So it's you could really see that when I joined, that it was built by people who had no idea what they are trying to build. They had all these awesome ideas. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And then this whole pile of very nice ideas just glued together in a horrible mess. And for me, the interesting part was when I joined, it took me, I took it up as a average job. I didn't want to work on blockchain. I just found it interesting. And then after just going through this pile of problems for about 2 months, I kind of realized that, wow, this is actually a nice idea. Mm-hmm. So it took me 2 months to figure out that Ethereum is actually something I would like to work on.
Nice. And did you basically start cleaning up the code? Was that like your initial job?
Yes. Actually, that was my trial job. Jeff hired me for a trial period for 1 week. And he just told me, here's this mess, fix it. And if you have questions, ask. That was the job description.
Nice.
And that's how I got into Ethereum.
That's what every technologist wants to hear, fix this mess. I remember working at a startup, and it got so bad that we couldn't fix anything, like not even on the UX side, because it was like just a big chunk of code, and oh my god, it was painful. But I'm curious as well what you like focus on at university, because you studied computer science. Like this was your first like ever job. So did it? Because these days I've met a lot of programmers who actually say, you know what, I'm just going to go into blockchain and even finish university, because like the curriculum just isn't like up to scratch, up to speed. So how have you found that transition? Was university helpful for you in that regard?
Yes, it's yes and no. So our university has no notion of blockchains. That's completely new things. I came from a distributed systems perspective. I really like networking. And I was working, when I was doing my master's, I did something around distributed hosting platforms. And it really annoyed me that you have to configure everything manually. And I wanted to create systems that just self-organize, that just do things without human intervention. And when I finished university, I was trying to find a job at any company which allows me to just convince computers to do their stuff alone without human interaction. Yeah. And then Ethereum was like cherry on the cake.
Perfect. It's really interesting because when we were sitting downstairs, I'm interested in the same things and things like emergent social patterns out of chaos, but like from the perspective of like social evolution. And what Ethereum is doing, like the deeper I get into it, the more I talk to people, is just fascinating. It's literally every anthropologist like dream. Talking about basically, you mentioned kind of like that you get some slack on Twitter, and it's basically like the myths and the truth. What do you think is the biggest myth about Ethereum right now?
Wow, that's a loaded question. That's a very hard question. I would say the biggest myth about Ethereum is kind of like Ethereum does not scale, but it's also the biggest truth about Ethereum. Yeah. And the reason it's kind of, the problem is that whenever people are saying that Ethereum does not scale, they are right, because the Ethereum as it is currently designed, the layer 1, indeed has scalability. I wouldn't necessarily call them issues. That's how it's designed. It has a fixed capacity, and it cannot outgrow that capacity. However, the place where this turns into a myth is that everybody says that, okay, then Ethereum is dead. And that's not true anymore because we have all the other solutions upcoming, like these roll-ups, layer 2s. And those aren't meant as these hacks to make it work, rather that was the design. So that's the way it was always intended to be. And that's why I think the truth starts devolving into a myth.
Yeah, yeah. And from the perspective of the upcoming hacks or the upcoming improvements, is there anything in particular that you're working on or that you're really excited about technologically?
Wow. Actually, I'm not really working on it. I'm super excited and super afraid of it. That's stateless execution, if it says something to you. Essentially, just to summarize it, currently all Ethereum nodes need to maintain a big database of all the state. That's, I don't know, 400 gigs, 500 gigs. But if you try to look into the future, 10 years into the future, that's going to be an insanely large number. So that just doesn't work. And then there's this super nice idea that let's take all that away. Nodes maintain absolutely no absolutely no state. They just maintain that the current state of the network is this tiny little cryptographic proof, this checksum, that this is the state of the network and I have no idea what's in it. And what's going to happen at every time somebody wants to, for example, send an ether, I want to send an ether to you, what I will do is I will tell you that I can prove it that I have this ether, and I can prove it that after I send it to you, you will have +1 ether. And I can create a cryptographic proof, so the entire network accepts it, but they kind of still have no idea what's out there. And it's an amazing idea, and also it's amazingly scary that the entire state of the world is just 32 numbers. That's wow.
Yeah, no, that's insane when you put it like that. That's actually mind-boggling. But we spoke about scalability, and obviously there's the kind of aspect of the technological scaling. But thanks to people like you who do amazing talks on the subject, how can we actually scale it amongst the average person on the street that still thinks, oh, it's a bit of a scam. It's like the Dutch tulips, 200 years ago, and I'm not going to get involved. How can we scale it and kind of demystify it for the general public? Is Ethereum doing something in that regard, or is there something that you think it should do?
Well, I think this event is specifically that. That's the perfect happening. These hackathons and, for example, this Parallelnipolis, this crypto space, hacker space is, I think it done an amazing job for Bitcoin, where anyone can just come in the streets and they say that, okay, you can only buy a coffee with Bitcoin. And if you would like if you would like to buy Bitcoin, sure, here's the ATM. We will show you how to do it. We will help you. We'll explain. And by the way, if you're interested, we also have seminars and lectures and talks and hacks, and feel free to join. And I think this is kind of what the entire crypto community needs to do. And we are actually doing it, just to organize all kinds of events where anyone who's even have the slightest interest and maybe a tiny bit of technical desire to understand it, they can just go in there and say that, okay, I didn't know that. Interesting. Maybe I can just think about it a bit more. It will probably take a very long time. 10 years plus until it really goes into average people's minds that this exists. But still, I think we're on the right path.
Absolutely. You couldn't have made a better PR promotion of this event. Thank you very much. But you're absolutely right. Popularizing and making a community out of this is really, really important. And the community spirit here has just been amazing. So if you were lucky to attend, lucky you. And if you were unlucky not to attend, then you can still watch these awesome hosts on the live streams. I think we've got only a couple more today, but you can play it back. And Péter, thank you so much. It was an absolute honor to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.